Jarl.
You just
Yeah.
lobster. Damn.
Really appreciate
I'm gonna do
that.
identity. I'm gonna do identity fraud now. Hold on, let me subscribe and turn on post notifications.
I promise you don't want to do that. Oh god.
What are you gonna do at 20k? 20k subscribers?
Giveaway.
You should do a face reveal. You should do a draw my life.
No. What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. So, mute it please if you're watching it. You know, not on the PS, because I don't want to hear myself talk. Have you ever tried to talk while you can hear your voice echo in the background? It's
Yes.
incredibly hard. It's
I
so
hate it.
hard.
It makes me want to die.
Yeah, it's terrible.
My
So
voice sound like that.
I have a horrible voice too, so.
shut up.
Shut up.
I can definitely hear myself. Someone's not doing what I asked. Mute it.
Yeah, Bear's
bro.
never watched a YouTube video on his phone ever in his life.
Okay, is there anyone not here? Okay, great. So I posted the outline of what we're going to talk about in Coach Notes, if you haven't seen it already. I don't know if you guys are like visual learners, but I like to like read shit, you know. And then afterward it'll be nice because we're gonna work on this for a while, I'm sure. So you guys will always kind of have it like written down. You can, you know, refer back to it, right? So basically, there's like 3 different main steps that go into this, and you know, of course, they're all convoluted in their own way. So we're gonna break them down. If anything confuses you guys at some point, you got questions or you want better examples, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm just gonna talk at you for like 30 minutes before we actually go onto the VOD. You know, so info gathering and scouting is your first step, right? This is just like as soon as you guys go into the map, right, as soon as you're able to see the enemy comp, you are already pulling in info, of course, from what you're seeing, right? Like the comp they have, where they're going. Like scouting is very important, you know, at the beginning of every fight. So the first thing you're looking at is just what they have, right? So figuring out what they have and how your team works against theirs and vice versa. Obviously, this is going to affect target priority like we're talking about. It also affects your pathing, right? Like scouting is very important, just giving you information and then, you know, applying it obviously after. So we're not going to actually go too much into this, but you know, part of this is just like your hero and your comp selection, right? It's just like your knowledge about counters, right? And then like hero matchups. So it's just like, you know, how heroes play against other heroes, and there's so much data on that, right? Like, is it better to use these cooldowns against this hero, and like this hero counters this? Like, there's just so much. I'm not going to go over every single hero and how they counter other heroes and all of their matchups. That's definitely something that you guys will do in your own time. You already have knowledge, of course, right, about, you know, different heroes as you play more. So again, it's just important. The questions that I want you to answer, though, whenever, or ask yourselves, right, whenever you go in and you notice their comp, is what is our comp counter? So if we're running dive, right, and they have a Xin, that's a pretty obvious one. Like everyone knows, you know, Xin's really easy to dive. So if you're running dive, you know, Xin's going to be like a natural target for you guys. That's pretty simple. On the flip side, what is their comp counter of ours, right? So another easy example, of course, is if you're running like a bird, like Pharah, Echo, whatever, and they have hit scan, you want to kind of think about like prioritizing their hit scan a little, like making sure that your tank is kind of pressuring them or you're throwing some more damage their way, maybe focusing them first so that your bird ends up having more space in the fight after, right? If you get that kill or you're just pressuring them in the meantime. Basically, figuring out what they counter and what you need to watch out for so you can kind of adjust your play style around their comp a little bit too. After that, other things that you kind of have to start thinking about. And again, this is all info gathering and scouting. This is going to be like your main your biggest section, I think, whenever you guys are trying to like be better about actively thinking about target priority, right? Like, because this is just gathering all the info you can. So it's going to be a lot at first. As you guys get better about actually actively thinking about this, it's going to slowly start becoming second nature, and it's not going to be so much. But next one's threat level. We kind of talked about this a little whenever we were talking about like Junkrat and Bastion, right? So your threat level, like just high threat, enemies, like enemies that have high damage output, right? Like burst damage. I gave a lot of examples. A DPS like Junk, Echo, Bastion, of course. Hog's kind of nerfed now, right? So his one shot, hook, whatever, isn't as consistent. But again, like that one shot, hook combo is a good example of that. Hog's very threatening. Xin, of course, heroes like that can just kill you very fast. You don't want to ignore them for very long, right? I'm sure we've all been there where we ignore like a Junkrat and he gets inside of us and then he like one shots 3 people, and then if they don't have a lot of high damage, but they have what I'm calling detrimental utility. So basically, like, they offer a lot of utility, and it's something that can fuck your team over, essentially. So, like, Mei, right? Mei can use wall and split your team. Symmetra and Torb have turrets. I know that Lifeweaver is very new, and people aren't using him, very well yet, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for, like, very aggressive plays with Lifeweaver, right? Like, he literally has the cooldowns to, like, bring a tank into the 1v1 you're having with him, right? He can just summon Reinhardt and have him start swinging on your ass. So I think that he has some good utility there that you need to watch out for. Other than that, we're also going to look at like high value targets, right? Some of this is just very simple. Supports and tanks are going to be high value targets, right? I'm typically going to say don't focus the tank unless like certain parameters are met, which we'll talk about later. Tanks are obviously tanky, right? They have a shit ton of HP compared to other heroes. So probably not easy to kill, but if you do manage to kill one, right, like they fuck up, they're out of position, whatever, if you do manage to kill one, that's a really great target to kill, right? Like a team is much worse when they don't have their only tank alive. Similar thing, supports are really great, high value targets, a lot easier to kill typically than tanks. And again, like if you kill their Ana, right? Like that's just like their main heals that they don't have, you guys just kind of win like the war of attrition over time. Slowly whittling them down because they just don't have like the healing that you guys do. So supports are always, going to be good targets. And then finally with that, people with important ults, we'll talk about this more in a little bit, but essentially, if we have an ult that we want to get off, like Blade, Grav, etc., and they have like it's typically support ults, right, that counter those. They have beat, they have trans. Like a Genji will obviously like pressure the Zen that has trans to try to get him to pop it soon before he blades, right? So kind of thinking about that a little bit. Before we move on to actually applying that, does anyone have any questions? I feel like it's, pretty basic. Like just kind of, again, like getting as much information as you can. A lot of this is, again, this all comes down to understanding, again, your comp versus the enemy comp and just what they're good at, what you guys are good at, what your goals are, and then playing around that. Any questions before I move on? Okay.
No.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so application, right? Actually applying this. So what I'm going to say is, again, first step, you just get all your information, whatever. Second step. So from that, and we're not jumping on these targets. You're just selecting them. I want you guys to actually do this, like vocally, right? Together as a team. You're going to pick like 2 or 3 targets that you generally want to focus on across the map, like based off of the information that you've collected, right? So again, that means like 2 or 3 heroes that I'm not saying you can't jump on like the other members of their team. Again, we'll go on. We'll talk about like when you would do that. But you just want 2 or 3 targets based off of the things like they're high, high threats, they're a high value target. They have like whatever ult, just generally like things that you want to focus on that's going to help your team a lot. And if the comp changes, then your targets will change, right? And you'll reevaluate. We talked about ults, right? So mid fight, or between fights rather, that's when you guys usually talk about ult tracking, right? You'll talk about what the enemy has a little. You'll talk about like what ults you guys want to use. So these are kind of like this is kind of like the time where you would discuss again what ults you're going to use, and then what do they have that counters our ults, right? Like we talked about before. If they have trans and we have blade, so that's something to look out for. And then also what ults they have, right, that threaten us. If they have Grav or Blossom, you play a little bit differently. Than you would if they don't have ults. So, that kind of factors into your decision making a little bit too. Like if you aren't always, let's say like usually, right, you wouldn't focus a frog first because he's he's hard to kill typically, right? Lucio just kind of like wall rides around. He's very survivable, so you wouldn't usually focus him. But again, like if they have beat, and like that's the only ult they have that fight, and you really need him to get that beat out, again, like if you guys just swarm on him and like try to pop it, like that could be like a legitimate strat. So kind of like taking that into account. So overall, info gathering, right? And then taking all that info and picking 2 or 3 targets, right? And then the last thing is the actual action of it, right? So you're going to pick one. This is in the moment, right? This is mid-fight. We've already like kind of done all the pre-planning, before. So mid-fight, you're going to pick one out of the 2 or 3 just based off of ease of access. And what I mean by that is like who you can reasonably kill right now, right? So if let's say like whatever comp you decide that like, okay, we're going to try to focus like Xin, McCree, and I don't know, I'm just going to say Ana, right? Like Xin, McCree, Ana. And the Xin is a lot closer, right? And he's already hurt a little. And, the McCree is like all the way in the back, of the point. Zin's going to be a lot closer, right? He's more vulnerable. So you guys are going to jump on them. So like, that's what I mean by ease of access. Like, is your team like actually like close to them? Does your team have the cooldowns to get to them? Do they not have cooldowns, right? Stuff like that. And then prioritizing any target if extremely vulnerable and easy to access. That means like even if they're not one of those like 3, right? Like one of like the 2 or 3 that you're kind of like looking to focus a little bit more. Let's say like the tank, right? We talked about this earlier. You're typically not gonna like have the tank in one of your top 3. But if we learned this, I think, on the last Team VOD when we did Eichenwald, right? Or we saw this when like the Junker, when they tried to like spawn camp you guys, kinda, and the Junker Queen pushed up like way too far, right? And y'all got like a really nice wall off in the ante, and then you just obliterated her. So if like someone's feeding or steps out of position and they're really easy to jump on and they're not going to get help instantly, like go for it. Don't worry about it. If they're killable, kill them. And as you guys can see, I just noted the couple of things that you're looking for as far as vulnerability goes, like what makes a target vulnerable. And it's pretty simple stuff, like are they low HP? Yeah, if they're low HP, they're probably pretty vulnerable, right? If they're out of position, like we said, that means away from their team, close to yours, or like away from natural cover, stuff like that. Have they used important cooldowns? Again, these are more like survivable cooldowns, right? So that's why we call like when Moira uses Fade, when Reaper uses Wraith, when Mei uses her cooldowns, that's like the one time where she's actually vulnerable, right? Ana's Nade and Sleep, right? That means you can go in, more aggressive on her. Zarya's bubbles, again, that's like one of the only times you can actually fucking kill Zarya's when she's used both of her bubbles, stuff like that. Are they squishy or chunky? Again, we talked about this, like supports are much easier to kill than tanks, right? And then basically, how easy is it to actually kill this target, and will they be getting help from their allies? That's really important. So even if they are kind of out of position, you want to jump on them, if you guys have to like over aggress, right, like overextend into them to get that kill and their teammates are like pretty nearby, you might want to like reconsider that. All right. Any questions about any of that? I know it's a lot right now.
No.
No? Okay. All right, so that was pretty easy. So now we're gonna actually apply it, right? We'll slowly go through the steps, and I'll go through like the initial first fight, and kind of talk about what I see and what I kind of want you guys to start doing, and then each fight will kind of go through either different thought processes, like what we should be thinking about, what we're actually focusing on, and like make little things, and then we'll kind of figure it out from there. So I think that the stream will probably be a little delayed, so bear with me, but I'll pause it periodically, so it shouldn't be too bad. Right here, we're like, 15 seconds into the game, so that's when you can press the touchpad, right, and for sure see their comp. Obviously, when we have Hanzo and stuff, I know that we originally threw the sonar out there. So again, hopefully you guys, as much information as you can get as soon as possible is always amazing. Sonar is great for that. Or if you have a flanker, like they should be out there scouting, right? So I'm not going to get too much into like how exactly to scout. Just basically, you should be doing it. You should be, looking at their comp and figuring out what it is. I'm assuming at this point you have like an okay understanding of their comp. Maybe you need a little bit longer, whatever, I'm just going to start talking about it as if you guys know what they have right now. So you know what you have, right? You're running kind of a poke. It's hard a little bit to talk about target priority when you're talking about poke. You guys run brawl on attack, and it's a little bit easier, right? Because like, with brawl and dive, you're like actively going onto people. So it'll be better, I think, then. Poke, essentially your goal is to stay as far away as you can while still obviously like covering the angles and like the point and stuff that you need to cover, and then just like shooting whoever you see, right? It's just like doing as much damage to them before they get to you. So it's typically your goal with poke, but we'll still talk about like how their comp affectures and etc. So again, first things first, looking at their comp, looking at ours, I want to talk about, counters based on the comp, right? So their comp's weird. I don't really know what they're running. I see. So some of the codes I watch from you guys, and like both teams have like the weirdest comps, but we'll work with it. So they're like it's not really brawl, but they're running Rein, right? They're running Rein without a Lucio, which is great for you guys because that just kind of like makes Rein weak. And Rein comps really struggle from poke, right? And like they suffer from getting shot from different angles, pressuring and stuff. So like poke's gonna counter Rein. You guys are good there. Sig's pretty good against Ana. So that's something to think about. Like you should like your Sig is going to want to throw shield in front of her when he can, in front of the Ashe, and you can eat the nade. And then the things that we're gonna struggle with, right? Zen is pretty good against poke, right? Because he just has the range. He can help whittle down the tank a bit, but he just has the range on your snipers. He can like help duel them and keep pressure on, right? So Zen is always typically going to be like he's both like a threatening target and a high value target because he's not only a squishy support, but he also does a shit ton of damage, right? And then also Genji. Genji, not always scary, especially down here. But he is good at countering snipers and jumping on supports and stuff. So I will say that counters your snipers a little bit. Next thing we'll go over, right, going down the checklist, is just talking about threats, right? Again, we talked about we talked about Zen already, focusing your team a little bit, kind of countering, poke a little bit, or being good against poke. So Zen, I would say, again, another threat. I'd also say Ashe, right, just because she has that big, burst damage, that pick potential, right? She can just one-shot people. So Zen and Ashe are going to be, I think, your top threats here. Again, a little bit of Genji, but, he just doesn't do nearly as much consistently as those two. High-value targets. Ana and Zen, of course. Both of them are squishy. They're supports. They, you know, bring a lot of value to their team with their cooldowns and their damage. Again, their tanks, of course, are always kind of high-value targets, right? But you really don't want to focus them, especially not in a brawl comp. And I'm going to say this a lot because you guys end up focusing Rein a lot. I see this anytime I watch you guys. See it a lot. I'm going to get on to you every time, so buckle in. So what I want, yeah. And then selection, all right? So this is where we actually select, you know, the 2 or 3 people, right? Really, in this comp, it's going to be the supports and the DPS. So I want you to ignore Rein and just go for you can kill, basically, in this poke style comp. I would say, like, if you can pressure, you know, and kill the supports, that's awesome. Definitely pressure and focus Ashe. And then if Genji comes into you guys, you deal with him, right? You pressure him, you push him away, you fuck him. But other than that, you know, you really just want to keep a lid on, like, mainly the Xin, the Ashe, and then, you know, kill Ana if you can, pressure her if you can. But even just, like, the Sig Shield and the Suck should be, like, good enough to, like, kind of keep her at bay, right? So again, we take all of that info, and then at the end we're making that selection, right? Like Xin, Ashe, Ana are, like, typically, you know, like, that's going to be your 3 here. Your goal is to ignore Rein unless you can't, and then pressure Genji, right? So that's just, like, the opening. Like, this is what you guys, I know it's a lot to think about in the moment. It'll get easier with time, but, you know, actively, like, you're looking at their comp, figuring out how they counter you guys, what they can do to you, what you counter, and you're just kind of selecting a couple of people. And then we actually go into the fight and we kind of see what they do. Okay, so I wanna look at the Ashe here, actually. And just like we talked about her being a threat, right? Ashe gets a good opening pick. Yeah, right there. We end up killing her though, which is great, Bear. And we threw the dynamite on the Ana. Yeah, so Bear really cleaned up well here, and then we ended up getting the res off of that. So Bear did a great job, right? Killing the a couple of targets that we talked about. And again, I love that, right? It's exactly what we talked about. Like, we wait until Genji kind of comes into us, and then we just pressure him back. We instantly kill him there. We get the kill on Xin. And Rein, I don't know if he gets out. No, he dies. Nice. So we end up killing Rein last, but again, like, Rein was useless in that fight, you know? Like, he didn't go up top. You guys don't have to deal with him. You don't have to fuck with him, you know? Again, if there's no one else to shoot at, sure, like, break shield, you know, pressure him, whatever. But if you don't need to, like, don't bother. You definitely want to go for squishies. So that was a good first fight. Okay, so, a couple of things I want to talk about on this fight. We end up getting that kill on, what, Ashe, which is really solid. I don't know what happened here, but a couple of us are out of position. I know some of us are burning. I understand that. Some of us are, like, not quite here. What I will say is we have both of our DPS up here. I'm not going to focus too much on things like this, but I want to comment on some stuff. We have both of our DPS up here, which is okay. You know, like, you can both take high ground, especially when they don't have, like, dive, right? Or, like, a Lucio comp. I think that it's important that your snipers take different angles. So, like, if your Ashe is up there, then I think that your Hanzo can kind of play, like, bottom right, maybe. Especially, again, if they don't have a fast comp that can get to you very easily, and you can kind of, like, again, you want to take different angles on their comp, and that might mean y'all don't always take the same damage, right? You're not always getting hit by the dynamite together and having to back up. Because what upsets me here is that, like, their Rhine is stupid and doesn't help their team. Like he literally does not shield them across. Ashe ends up dying, which is great, but like their supports are really, really vulnerable here. I feel like we should have been doing more damage to them as they come up, but you know, whatever. We let them in. Second thing that upsets me, and I wish we'd done better, is again, the only thing that Rein does, right? The only thing that Rein can do to you guys is like swing on you if he's close, right? But with the comp that you have, other than like occasionally Sig, right, when you have to contest point or something, the rest of you should never be within swinging distance of Rein, right? Like Ashe, Hanzo both can take high ground, and Mercy and Bap, obviously. So like, you guys stay here for too long. Again, I don't want to focus on that too much, but I will say, like, you guys, I think you get rolled here. Like, y'all are just letting this Ryan walk into you. It's crazy. He doesn't have speed. Well, what you guys should do is drop, right? You want to pressure them as much as possible, right? And hope that they don't get up here, but eventually they're going to push up here, right? They're probably going to push up here, which they did. Drop preemptively. Don't be afraid to give up space. You want to give up space when you're playing poke. So I'll just say that. You guys dropped way too late. And then we lose, what, one person off of that? And then they nano 2 people. And we just die from there. So, again, I don't want to go over it too much, but that was less of a target priority thing, right? It was more like, maybe at the beginning, right? We needed to be in better spots and prioritize, again, like their squishies when they're walking through, like we talked about. But after that, you know, it was just like a rotation thing. You guys just didn't rotate. I think this one's kind of messy too, like they push up a lot. Yeah, they blade. Right now we need to be moving back. Yeah, I think we're just confused, which is okay, but we end up staggering pretty bad here. Okay, so I'm gonna skip. Wait.
Pass into the unknown.
So, we end up doing an okay job here. What I want to note about this fight, because it looks really sketchy, right? We have the Bob, which is good. See, I think with the Bob, right, you're pressuring the supports back bear, which is really nice. Other than that, and I know, Ramen, I think you swapped to Sombra at some point. But yeah, like I think on third. And I'm not saying you need to swap to a flanker sooner, but it really bothers me. Like we talked about how their supports are probably the ones to start focusing, right? Besides, again, like the Ashe. Their supports go like pretty much untouched for a lot of this. Like I know for the first half of second, like we're just kind of getting pushed back with ults and we needed to reset. Besides that Bob, like they're just kind of sitting there. We get the Genji who's low and on fire, which is perfectly fine. I feel like we're shooting Rein a lot of the time. This one's not like as egregious as others, which we'll note. Like Rein is inside us, but at this point, like Ramen, you shouldn't be here, right? Like you shouldn't be in danger of getting swung on Rein. You have the option of climbing on high ground here. You have the option of like going over there. You know, like you have the option of just literally climbing away from him. And we spend so much time like trying to pressure this Rein. I'm glad that we got the kill. Like we ended up like Jay ended up, you know, again like solo ulting him and we got the kill for it. Whatever, that's fine. But you know, like they'd use trans, so that's okay. But they, you know, like if they have sleep, right? If they have, you know, other cooldowns, like we get into trouble with this later. Like it works out in this fight. We get in trouble with this later when they have ults, when they have cooldowns to kind of negate some of the stuff that we're using, and we end up getting fucked because we just keep trying to focus Rein. So in this instance, you know, we use the ult, we managed to kill them. That's fine. We forget that Ashe comes back, right? Like all of us are on low ground. We're not really thinking about their other threats. We're just kind of like, I think, shooting at whoever's in front of us. That's a good kill. Okay. Yeah, we've talked about this before. We don't need to be on cart. We take way too long to come up to high ground. Our tank should already be up here. As you can see, like they're literally already here, so that's a big misplay. That's a good window to kind of stop them. Yeah, okay, so I think what I did last time was this. Back it up again.
Let them up.
Okay, so you see this whole time, right? Like, we window, which I think is good, because, you know, we were down J for that, we're getting pressured. And this whole time, and it's not just Flames, but I'm watching Flames because he's in the back. I think Bear is shooting at the Genji, it looks like, or maybe the I can't tell. You know, one of the squishies in the back. Bear, you're doing great. You know, I love Bear right now. Flames, I love this window. I hate that you're just shooting the Rhine, man. Now, again, I'm not gonna say, like, I don't want you guys to, like, not shoot shield, right? I don't want you guys to not pressure Rhine if he's, like, pushing up aggressive or something. But, like, right now, looking at who you have in your window, you can shoot this Genji, you know? Like he's just standing here. And because we're not really focusing this Genji, like, as he's kind of, like, pressuring up and then, you know, getting a little closer and getting in position, Bear dies, right? If we throw, like, a couple of shots into him, especially a couple of window boosted shots, he either dies or he gets really low and he gets scared and he doesn't push Bear there, right? Instead, we're just like hammering into the Rhine shield. But Rhine also has like, what, 600 health, you know? Like, yeah, we might break his shield, but also like he's still a big fucking hulking man, and he's also not really directly in front of the, you know, the window, and you know, we've kind of had to like drop down because like their Genji just kind of have space. Or also we end up getting slept, right? Now we're trying to like peel off the Genji because we've let him inside of us. And now this Ana is kind of like, you know, sitting up here for free, getting a lot of value with her cooldowns. Like you know, they get this pick off of on Robin because we ignore the Ana in the back. She ends up getting the nano on the Rhine, right? Now Jay's in cover. We spent all of that time like trying to burn Rhine and keep him at bay, and we literally let their squishies do whatever they want. This Zen is literally on cart right now. Like, where the fuck did this Zen come from? Did he literally walk from main and not get shot? Like this Zen is literally on cart. Bear shoots him. Fantastic. Again, unfortunate Flames, like, why are you down there? You know, like you should never be on the same like level with Rhine, right? Bear too, you know.
Zen dropped from high ground, by the way.
Huh?
When the window, the Zen dropped from high ground when the window popped up.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad he didn't walk all the way from me. Yeah, but like, you know, the Zen dropped, and you know, we don't pressure him, right? And I don't mind that like we've moved back, you know, to kind of again keep the distance. It's just like at this point we've already made those mistakes. We haven't pressured the right people, and now they just win. Okay, so they swapped to Widow, right? So we made the swap to Sombra, they swapped to Widow. I think that's the only thing that's changed. So again, if they change comps, we kind of have to like reevaluate things. I'll say Widow is very similar to Ashe, right? In the sense that, you know, she can one-shot, you kind of need to focus her. So I think Widow just kind of like takes on like Ashe's, you know, whatever spot here as far as like, you know, who to pay attention to and focus, which Ramen has already done a great job of making her hate her life. Awesome.
Fuck Widow.
So this is one of those moments where I hope that you guys, like, between fights, I know that you've been pushed back, you know, you're kind of setting up, but this is when you guys should be talking about ult, right? So again, you already have like your couple, you should already have like your targets in your mind, you know, again, like Zen, Ana, you know, Widow's scary. If Genji pushes us. Yeah, basically this comp, anything but Rhine. But now, of course, they have ults, right? The big one that's coming is Blade. They also have Shatter. Again, I know you guys, you ult track. It might not always be perfect, but I know you guys try to do it, which is good. But now we, you know, applying it a little bit. So we know that they're going to have Blade. So either with, again, your cooldowns, right? Like Immort, of course, you know, is a decent counter for Blade. Like, it buys you a little bit of time. And then I would say, like, Bob's, you know, with what you have, because you don't have a defensive ult. Bob is also a decent counter. So right now, what my goal is as a team, right, just, again, focusing those people, I'd be really trying to, like, kind of pressure Genji this fight. So Genji kind of goes up in priority a little bit. You know, before he's been, like, you know, hey, if he comes at us, you know, we peel him, whatever. Now he has Blade. We want to definitely keep pressuring him, right? We want to make sure we're scaring him before he gets onto us, throwing dynamite, you know, throwing some shots his way, whatever. And if he bobs, hopefully we get, like, I'm sorry, if he blades, hopefully we get Bob in time. You know, so kind of want to, again, help our Ashe, make sure we're getting value out of that. We get Bob fast and we can do that, you know, kind of thinking about, again, like, how can we counter what they're going to do, right? Same thing, like, if they have different tank ults, right? Like, I know he has Shatter, so, you know, thinking like, okay, probably don't want to stand behind my Rein, you know? If they have Grav, typically, right? Like, you want to kind of spread out, you know? So it's kind of stuff like that. Let's watch. Yeah, so we get the dynamite off of on him. He had to use deflect here. He goes in regardless, right? And we're already kind of there. Okay, so I like that we hack him when he comes in. We're pressuring the Genji a lot, which I really like. Again, this is why we talk about, like, between fights, what we're kind of planning for. Because, Bear, your ult is, like, the only ult we have to counter Blade, right? I don't think you needed it there. They hadn't really pushed in that much. I don't know why Ryan pins it and goes over there. I think Dylan said what? He just stands here and shields it. I don't know what his plan was. I guess you got Ryan out of the fight, right? Because he's a moron. But I do think that it was ultimately a waste, right? Just because, you know, it bought you some time, but he's gonna come in probably soon and try to wipe you guys. Again, pressuring their backline, which I appreciate. So now we're getting close to, we have Shatter, we're getting close to EMP and Window. So now we can kind of at least talk about that. You know, if they come in and Blade, you know, we should be talking about, especially because they're getting close to Nano, like, what's our goal? You know, are we going to try to, like, Window, right, you know, in front of it to just try to burst him? Are we going to, like, I don't know, shatter him? You know, stuff like that. I probably wouldn't EMP him because he's going to be nanoed most likely. Just kind of talking about, again, like, how we're going to counter it. We have Shatter, right, but they have Trans. Or, like, we have EMP, they have Trans. So that's kind of, like, you know, thinking about how they're going to counter us, right? If we go in with EMP Shatter, we need to make sure that we're hard focusing the Zen, right? Like, maybe we, like, really jump on... they have Blade, so, again, we want to keep pressuring... yeah, that's very true. So yeah, talking about what ults you want to use, again, if you want to get, like, the EMP Shatter off or something and you're worried about the Trans, maybe trying to pressure Zen a little bit, right? So you kind of want to pressure Zen and Genji. Same thing with Ana. Like, if you're worried about, like, the Nano Blade, again, like, pressuring Ana, which we end up doing here, but pressuring Ana, right, when they have Nano Blade to kind of, like, fuck up the Nano a little bit, you know, make her, again, you want people to make, like, bad decisions by putting them, you know, like, by placing pressure on them. Yeah, okay. So this is unfortunate. Now what I want to say is what happens here is the Genji blades and, you know, we're all kind of split a little and we back up and then, you know, we try to, like, that was interesting. We try to, like, peel the Genji off, right, and we're all, like, backing up and everything, and they've pushed us all the way back, and it's kind of a mess. This is a weird concept to go over. It's not something that I want to get into too much right now. But what I will say is when they have ults like Nano Blade, I don't think they use the Nano with it, but you know, when they have ults like that and it's kind of hard to shut down, I do think that it's worth it to peel, right? Like you can sometimes shut down the Genji, you know, and pressure them. What I will say for Ramen here, right? You come back and you end up kind of trying to peel, like to help everyone peel. The damage is already done. The Genji is already inside your team, and I don't think that there's anything you can really do, right, to kind of help your team with that. The Widow
Yeah.
kill is really big, right? That's a great pick. And you end up keeping the Ana at bay a little bit here, which I also really like. You keep Ana busy here, and maybe that's why. I mean, obviously, like the Genji went in before they even had Nano, right?
Yeah.
But you know, if they did have Nano and they wanted to set it up, like this is what I want you to do: is pressure their backline right now, because you don't need to peel. I don't think it's your job really to peel the blading Genji. You know, sometimes hacking him can be nice, right? Because you'll stop him from, you know, from being able to like dash for a few seconds. But now like hack is it doesn't lock you out as long. Like I don't think there's as much value with it. Instead, and again, this is kind of like a weird concept. But whenever your team is for sure gonna lose like a bunch of people, right? Typically when they have an ult like Blade, or you know that they have like a bunch of ults going into that fight and you don't really have like really great ways to counter it, you guys, it depends on the comp that you're running, but y'all want to try to just like trade backlines, right? So your job right now, Ramen, is to like focus this Ana. Now, which is what you try to do. She nades you. I want you to look at your health. I know that this is like, you know, this is a flanker thing. It's hard sometimes. You're in the moment. Shit's happening behind you. You know, you get hit and you're like, fuck. She doesn't have sleep yet. She used nade on you. She barely does any damage to you, right? She used nade way too early. I don't think you needed to leave yet. I think that you could probably pressure her more. Now, I will say, you're still getting value out of this, right? Because she's out of the fight. She's literally not helping her team right now, which means like maybe they'll be forced to use trans here, you know, to keep everyone up, especially like the Genji. But I think you can kind of like maybe play a little bit more aggressive on the Ana and keep her out longer, right? And maybe get that extra kill, because if they lose Ana, that like whenever you guys come back and regroup, like the Ana's still going to be coming back, and it's going to be a lot harder for them to like continue that. Or maybe you guys are able to like, again, when you're backing up and fighting them, maybe you guys are able to kill them a little bit better, right? Because they don't have the healing, and they do end up using trans, right, to kind of keep them up because they didn't have the Ana with them. So I do think you got value there. I think you could have pushed it a little bit, but like, because again, instead you come back, and now you guys are like all the way back in spawn trying to peel this Genji, and like look how much space they've gotten for free because we backed up so much. If you guys are going to play at range there, like that's something to mention. Like if they have Blade, what probably killed you instantly, like first and foremost, right, was because we were playing here. Like I think Bear died around here, and the Genji just kind of dashed to him. So if they have dive heroes, you know, you want to play a little bit more range. Like maybe you could have played like a longer sideline, right, and then Ryan could have been pushed up to like one of these corners instead, and then that way it's harder for him to get that off. That's probably the best thing that you could have done there. And then again, trying to get kills on their backline. Okay, yeah. Oh, this is a good one. I'm so excited. Okay, so
Oh, it's this call that I made. I made this call. Oh,
yeah,
I know
yeah.
I did.
Do we
Yeah, I was like, this Ryan is so up. I think we can kill him here. I'm like, oh, fuck, and he didn't. He just got nanoed.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of those things that we were talking about earlier, right? Talking about vulnerability, right? I do think that's smart. You're already thinking about, again, like, is this Ryan pushed up, right? is he vulnerable? Like, he's pushed past, further than his team is. He's definitely over-aggressed a bit. But, is he actually vulnerable, right? Like, around here, he's still inside of both of his healers, right? Because we're literally not pressuring them at all, except for, again, Bear, who looks like he's shooting this way. Thank you, Bear. And, yeah, so Ryan's still in both of their sight lines. They have Nano, right? That's something that we should know. They didn't use Nano with Blade, so we should know that they have Nano. As well as Shatter, of course. And yeah, we EMP Shatter the Rhine. I mean, don't do that.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again. I'll never use that for again.
Oh, hang on, I completely lost my point. Yeah, okay, so, like, Ryan's just not the goal unless he's actually vulnerable, right? So, we know that Zen's already used Trans, right? They've already used Blade. We know that Ana's gonna have Nano, right? So she has that in her pocket to save someone, including Ryan. Zen's gonna be extra vulnerable because he doesn't have Trans, right? There's no way that he predicts that you're gonna EMP him and reacts to it. There's no way he can save the team from the EMP Shatter. He just doesn't have it. So yeah, rather than going for the Ryan who's pushed up again, they don't have Lucio. So this Ryan's only option if he wants to get back to the team. Yeah, exactly. The Ryan's only option is to pin back. Go for their squishies. Like if you guys just jump on them here, you probably instantly kill the Zen, right? Because you EMP him and shatter him point blank or swing on him or shoot him or whatever. So, get their squishies in it and just fucking kill these people, right? You can be mindful of the Genji, of course, still and then pressure him out. He's hurting right now, but yeah, going for Ryan here is just not the play, and you guys end up completely losing this fight over that.
Yeah.
But hey, it happens. We're learning, right? Another interesting res. All right. So that's the poke portion. Again, just a lot of kind of understanding the comp you're playing and the ults that go into it.
Ready for battle.
Maybe not, but then I've always liked being the underdog.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Okay. So attacking now, we're running Brawl, right? Brawl with the frog, which is great. They're running a really interesting comp that's not quite Brawl. I'm sure you guys don't know exactly who they have yet, but at this point you've seen the Soldier, you've seen the Mercy, I'm sure you see the big hulking Rhine. I don't know, again, if you know that they have a Sombra yet, but you've been nated, so they have Ana, most of their comp. So let's talk about their comp versus ours, right? I want you guys to kind of help fill in the blanks a little. We'll work on that. So let's talk about counters, right, to our comp, okay? We kind of talked about Brawl a little bit earlier. So, who on their team is going to kind of, bother us a little bit? Anyone know? Okay, yeah. Because he can, attack from high ground and different angles, yeah, and Brawl struggles with that. So, for sure, Soldier is definitely going to be kind of an issue. Anyone else?
Sombra's also.
Yep. Yeah, you said Sombra and Ana?
Sombra, Ana.
Ana. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Sombra for a similar reason, right? She can come after Ana, she can take different angles on us, hack our Rhine and stuff. I will also say their Ana is one just because of Nade, right? Nade's pretty big on Brawl, of course, because, you're relying on those big burst heals, the AoE and all of that. So, as far as counters go to our comp, Ana, Sombra, Soldier, I would say are the big ones. And threats, we already kind of mentioned, right? Soldier is the big one because he has the most burst damage potential. He's going to be harder for you guys to get to because he'll be running around and doing high ground things. Sombra a little bit as a flanker. She's definitely not what I would consider a threat in the same way that like a Bastion is, right? She just doesn't do nearly as much damage, but she has a good amount of utility, and obviously just as a flanker in general, right? She's just kind of, someone that you want to keep an eye on. So those are typically your threats. High value targets, what would you say? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mercy.
Absolutely. So Ana and Mercy are going to be your high value targets, right? Mercy's hard to pin down, but if you can catch her out, whether it's in a dumbass res, which there are plenty, or, she's out of position, she gets caught out, or like Ana obviously is probably the easiest one because she's a small granny that has no mobility. So yeah. So out of everyone we talked about, what do you think like our selection is as far as targets go? Again, like 2 or 3. Like, what's our goal? How are we gonna address people? Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. So speed on Ana when we can, right? She's definitely like hopefully the first one we can get to, right? Because that just kind of makes their team fall apart. And then yeah, address high ground, right? If soldiers up there, if you. We're going to talk about this as you guys approach first point, but yeah, if he's on high ground, you can't ignore him. So either you got to play around him, right? Like you gotta play like on a different side where he just doesn't have the angle on you, or you have to go up there and address high ground. And yeah, just like Jarl said, you peel off the Sombra when necessary, right? Just like the Genji, you don't go chasing him, don't go chasing her. She's going to get out. But if she's on your team, obviously, you want to turn around a little and pressure her. So let's talk about it. Okay, so I'll back that up. This is, we'll talk about your rotations a little. Again, not quite a target priority thing, but this is important. You guys get antied, right? You should probably just wait. You don't need to necessarily go out into their sight lines yet. I know you used wall, so you're wanting to go. And you might consider kiting for a couple of seconds for it to wear off. What I will say, I know that Jay gets hacked here, but there was definitely an opportunity to not get hacked, right? But we weren't even really shielding from the start, so whenever we walk in, right, we don't block the anti. We kind of rush in. We're still not shielding anyone in, and then we get hacked because we don't even have it up. And yeah, and then some of us get in and some of us don't. So that's kind of the first thing. Again, rotation should be really easy through chokes. I'm sorry to say that. It comes down to communication, right? All you guys have to do is pick where you're going, right? If you're going top right, okay, we're going top right. And then when you're about like whenever you want to speed, like when you're about, I don't know, here-ish, you're pretty close to getting ready to push on that right, you get, you're like, okay, we're gonna speed in 3, 2, 1, and then you just go, right? Like speeding in 3, 2, 1, go. Like that's it. That's all you have to say. It's not a lot. And then you throw shield up, and your frog hopefully amps, and then you guys just move as a cohesive unit, and you don't have this mess. All right. When you guys push through chokes and stuff, it should be cohesive, and it should be like just a fluid thing. Don't stop in the middle. Don't be insecure and kind of, like wonder about like, oh, is this the right thing to do? You guys are just going and you're just doing it, right? Other thing I'll say, again, a small thing. I think this is a really good example of someone who's out of position. So let's look at this.
My bad.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I'm using you as an example. So we see the Sombra, right? The Sombra gets the hack on us, and we decide, oh, I want to pressure her. Unfortunately, Ramen puts himself out of position there, and they're like, oh, we can jump on this McCree now, right? Because the Sombra pushes, the Rhine's here, the soldier's on high ground, you're by yourself. So again, an example of someone, like maybe in their mind, right? Like they want to focus your Ana, or like, they're worried about the Mei, or, like, I mean, I would say McCree is definitely like a good target to focus. Maybe they have their targets in mind. But if you do see someone, right, out of position like that, and easily killable on the enemy team, you go for that kill, right? No matter who it is. If they're out of position and they're killable, go for it. Especially if they cannot get help from their team because their team has already moved on and left them, right? So anyway, that's just an example of it. Poor communication and not really great follow through. Okay, for some reason they drop off. I don't really know why. And then we kind of chill in here. I think that this is really, it's really scary for you guys to chill in here when there's only 3 of you. I would probably consider just leaving. I know that they dropped off of high ground, which kind of like buys you guys some time. I think if this team is better, like they just push into you guys, right? Like they just push and you literally have no DPS in there and then y'all die. So I would probably try to like take my squishies and then rotate back and meet my team. What I want to say here, and I know we were talking about like who to focus on first, and I know we've talked about high ground before and wanting to deal with the soldier and push him off. What keeps happening, and you'll see, like this Ana is about here, right? This Ana's pushed up and she keeps fucking tossing these nades in here. And hits people pretty much every time, and she's getting a lot of value from over there. Yeah, and she is right here. So again, you have 2 options like we talked about. You have the option of pushing soldier off of high ground, which is what we're trying to do. You also have the option of going to get Ana. So what I want to discuss is if you're gonna go top, stop putting yourselves all through this fucking choke. All right? Literally all they have to do, and we see it with the nade, and we see it with their damage, all they have to do is just shoot here, right? All they have to do is just shoot you guys, and they're just doing a ton of damage. Especially like, the times where your run's trying to make something happen and he's trying to swing. Like obviously like the shield can't always be up, so like damage is filtering through. Like you guys are just taking it, right? So if you really want to push top here, I think that it's probably a little bit better to kind of come inside a little at this point, and you can push them this way. You can still leave someone, like if your soldier wants to stay and play on a different angle, he can. But like some of you have to come here. You have options. You can still push into them. Now you're on top of them with speed. You can like kind of, get their mercy and, their soldier. You push them off. Or you have the option of going under, obviously, if you decide you want to go under for whatever reason. I wouldn't all funnel into the same... Yeah. Would you say a Mei flank? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so not everyone has to go, right? But definitely some people should go. And yeah, exactly. Like, being able to like take this angle for a second, right? You can even like as Ana, like you can play around here so you can kind of see them, and you can still help your team. You don't have to like all the way this way. Mei can definitely get value out of this. Soldier could get value out of coming this way. You could all come this way if you want and just try to like, negate like the poke damage you're taking until you get on top of them. You have a couple of options there with what you can do, but anything is better than what you're doing now. The other thing that I'll say, and you guys end up trying this at some point, but we'll talk about it now, is you could also go bottom left. So the end of like last fight, right, when you guys had lost people and I told you to group up, if you'd grouped up with your team, you could go under, right, or left or whatever, and you can come this way. And it's the same thing we talked about from before. Now, I know this happens, and the reason why this happens is because people or teams typically are, again, very sloppy with their rotations, right? And we'll talk about this when it happens next fight, I think. But you can come out here again and, come this way, and then you throw shield up about, like again, like around here-ish, and you guys just come out and then you speed inside, right, about here. Again, as a team, shield up, you use amp, you're taking as little damage as possible to the soldier, right, because you have a shield. And then your squishies at this point can kind of come into like this left side and take cover inside here, and you have like this left side for free, and you obviously speed on to Ana, right? I think that's a really good, a really solid pathing to take. If you guys decide, like, again, like this Ana's a fucking problem, she needs to be taken care of, going top isn't fucking working. I know that it's really frustrating when they do have people on high ground, and I will definitely typically say, try to push them off of it. But if it's not working, you have like a shield, you know, and speed and everything, a TP something, like try to like get around them if you can. You know, you guys got to like problem solve a little bit, but you try to do the same thing so many different times, and it just doesn't work. Yeah, no, they just kill you. Okay, so we switch a little bit, right? Sombra and Sojourn. So that's something that you can call, right? What's the cooldown on Nade? I don't know, so I'm gonna go check. Really? I thought it was more than 8, but it, yeah, she just threw it, so I guess it's 8. Well, she just threw it, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'll see. Okay, so sleep is what, 14? She just used sleep,
14,
and then yeah, there's the nade, which is okay, so it's 10.
It's 10 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Ana uses both cooldowns here. So we're talking about earlier, like when one of the things that we were bringing up as like if they're vulnerable or not, right? Cooldown usage. You guys should see the nade. Again, maybe you can like hear the sleep or notice the sleep or something. It didn't hit either of us. Y'all should be paying attention to shit like this and know like Ana doesn't have cooldowns right now. And then maybe this is like your opportunity, you know, to kind of like push her. I know she's pretty far back. But stuff like that, right? That I kind of want you to think about, like, oh, hey, their Ana doesn't have cooldowns right now. We can kind of pressure her a little bit. Anyway. Okay, we're trying it again. Again, notice how... Oh, sorry. Try to do what? Go left? Yeah. Yes. No, it is hard to go left when they have people in high ground. It depends. You have to be solid. You guys like gotta work on your rotations. But like you see this one too, like I don't know if you caught up. Again, we didn't shield people across. We kind of like some of us walked out here like Ramen's a little like completely away from the team. Now I'll say as Sojourn, like you have a little bit more freedom, right? Because you're mobile. Yeah. You know, so I understand you wanting to take an off angle and stuff. I don't have a problem with that. But if you guys are going, but you end up going with the team anyway. This is why I bring this up, because you end up going with the team anyway. So if you guys are like going to go with the team, like go with the team, do it as a cohesive unit, unless you have obviously mobility or whatever. But again, like you notice, like we walked through the choke, no shield, no one was really like together. If they wanted to kill us there, if they were better, we die there. As you guys again go against teams that actually like hit things and pressure you, they will kill you. They will kill you for being sloppy. So stop being sloppy. All you have to do is pick where you're going and count it down. That's it. Make sure you have amp, count it down. Typically, it's going to be like the main tank or like the frog calling that because it's easier, right? The frog knows his amp cooldown. I think that your frogs are decently vocal. I know that Flames is. I don't know if Rafi is. I can't remember. But calling when you're amping is great. Again, Ryan, you know, or like whoever your main tank is, you know, calling when you're going is always great. I don't care if someone else calls it as a team, but you guys should be calling when you're going and going together, period. If you guys can actually, you know, start doing that well, then going left is viable, right? And can actually help you. Unfortunate bear, but I appreciate that you're trying to distract them. Same thing here, like, sorry, I'm picking on you, Ramen.
It's okay.
I just want to show, like, again, you know, our Sojourn comes in here, we're kind of trying to deal with the Sombra, and now, like, when we're not dealing with Sombra, we're still dealing with her.
We're sitting ducks inside there.
Yeah, we're sitting ducks inside, like, Ryan comes around. Like, this whole time, before Ryan went behind, like, obviously you had to move for Sombra a couple of times, but other than that, like, you're just shooting Ryan's shield, right? Like, you're not getting any value out of it, right? You're literally just shooting Ryan's shield, and, like, they don't fucking care. Like, they just stand there and take it, and they kill you. So, this is just not working. Okay, so I believe it's this fight that we try to go left, and it does not work, and we'll talk about why it doesn't work. Partly it's because they have ults, right? So, you know, they used a little there, You know, they have what, EMP and visor, which is kind of an issue. You know, we have a couple of ults, but we just need to get in, right? Like that's just kind of our main thing. So we go bottom left. Okay, so I'm gonna pick on Jay a little, not Ramen this time. I'll let us catch up a little bit, a few seconds, right? So I want us. This is so important for my Rhine players. You know, my shield players, whatever. Shield management, all right? Especially when you're rotating, it's very important. I think everyone's job in a rotation is very important, right? It's your squishy's job to like be on the same page and actually walk. Don't get left behind. It's your Lucio's job to amp properly. It's your Rhine's job to shield, right? Okay, so we walk out here. We're already throwing shield up. We're already down at 1100. I want us to walk right here. Like, look how long we have shield out right here before we actually start walking forward. I would say we start walking forward now and we have 600 shield. Absolutely under no circumstances should you be pushing when you have 600 shield. If your goal is to get to this left side, right, you need to push with full shield. So I would not hold my shield and stand here. You never want to hold, I mean, unless you're like actually just trying to win a poke war, which is not your goal right now, then I wouldn't hold shield for no reason. You hold shield when you're pushing or you're retreating, right? You use it to like get yourself in or get yourself out. That's it. Or, you know, your team, obviously. So we waste shield. We literally have like half shield right now and we're starting to walk. So by the time we get here, our shield's breaking. And then she gets the hack on us, unfortunately. You know, that's kind of like that's a reaction time thing. And then the EMPS. So our first issue, our first problem, right, with this rotation, and I think this is what, you know, we were talking about, our rotations are sloppy, right? This is partly why it's sloppy. I don't know if I went too far. It looks like we amped pretty soon. Obviously she EMP'd us, so again, I don't know if some of our problems are like, you know, sometimes we're not amping well, or, you know, we're not moving together as a team, or we're not shielding properly. It seems like a little bit of all three maybe. But that's the first thing, right? Pushing together, knowing when we're pushing. Again, like, you guys should be taking as little poke damage as possible in this room. You know, is everyone ready? We have all our cooldowns? Yeah, we're totally ready. Okay, let's go. And then, you know, you guys push, and then, you know, around here you throw up shield and you're like walk. Okay, we're right around here, right? So the moment that, again, we talked about this a little bit, squishies. So whenever your Rhine gets around here, and again, he should be shielding. Obviously, I know that the Somber hacked us right here, which is unfortunate, but we should be shielding about, you know, here, shielding all the damage from high ground. The moment that your squishies, again, get around here, you guys should come into the mega. Again, I know we're talking about target priority, but this is important. So into the mega. So what happens is you guys get EMP'd and you all just flounder. You're like, holy shit, they're attacking us. There's a visor. We're scared. What do we do? Our shield's not working. Come into the room. This is natural cover. You guys are safe. You guys are safe in here. I know it's weird, right? Like, if you don't always play around here. But like, if your goal is to kind of get to point, get to this Ana, and get away from the soldier, like, soldier can't hurt you in here. I mean, he can run and... Where? What? Oh. Looks like a letter. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, so... Yeah. So natural. Yeah. If you guys get ulted, or if they're shooting you, y'all should have an idea of where you want to go when you're pushing, right? You're going from point A to point B. So anytime you're out in the middle of a lane, right? Like, that's what these are called. So anytime you're out in like the middle of this lane, you're not by natural cover, right? You're just kind of walking main. You know, you're out like in the middle, you're far away from everything. You are very, very vulnerable. The only times that you should be out in these spots are when you are moving from point A to point B, right? And there's not always like a definitive point A, point B, you know, like, it changes where you guys are going, you know, what you're playing. But in this instance, like, this is so safe. This is such a safe little angle, you know, like, your Ana can come up here if she wants and play on this little high ground with these boxes, you know, like, if you come up here, you know, as Ana, like you're just standing here and they can't see you from high ground anymore, right? And then you like your Rein can kind of like come on point and you can like help your team and maybe you help shoot this Ana and the soldier can't hurt you anymore. You know, or you guys like can even come, you know, deeper into like this room and then kind of like play in here. Like they have to actively push you in here, and this is just free space because none of them are over here, right? So anyway, they use ults. I know that they have ults, so it's kind of frustrating. Maybe if you guys had pushed, obviously, that way a little bit sooner, when they didn't have ults, it would have gone better. But I still think you could have played around it better when they did use ults, right? Simply by blocking LOS. Yeah, feels bad.
Damage A.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, obviously, we're stressed, right? Yeah, you know, we don't know what to do. Nothing's working. I think we try to push top again.
30 seconds remaining.
I mean, you guys get it
God,
here,
I
right? I feel like you'll push all the way to 3, so... I don't remember. Okay. So, now, we EMP here. Bear is mid EMP right now, and this is what I want to talk about. So we're nanoing Rein, right? We're going in. We have to make something happen. We EMP. Now I want us to watch who we focus on and tell me what went wrong. So we all push the Rein. Now I realize that Rein dies. All right, I understand that Rein dies. However,
Mercy's just standing there.
yeah. First of all, this fucking Ana is like the weirdest. Yeah,
Bro.
so Ana's in the back. Ana has all of the view in the world on her Rein, right? Not only that, but we're currently not pressuring her, obviously because, you know, Bear is EMPing, you know, with the team, right? Which is totally fine. We're setting up the play. So no one's pressuring this Ana, first of all. She's doing her own goddamn thing. So the Ana has like a ton of sightlines on the Rein, you know, which is kind of scary. Second thing, yeah, we literally, I will back this shit up so we can watch it. We literally, okay, first of all, this Mercy is so stupid too. Bear, you're better than this. This Mercy's so dumb. She's literally like, I don't know what she's doing. She's like, there's no way she doesn't see Bear. I'm so confused what this fucking bitch is doing. Yeah, average.
Oh, that was fucking fearless, bro. Holy fuck. How the fuck do you lose this?
So this Mercy. Yeah, this Mercy's like detecting you for days. Has no idea what's happening. Whatever. So we EMP. Also, again, because I know that you're right there. I know you see this Mercy. I know you see her. Yeah, so you guys either go for Mercy or Soldier here, right? You guys,
she's there.
yeah, especially with speed, like, and as Somber, right? We're talking about scouting. Part of you've already scouted their comp, right? So again, we already kind of have like an idea. Like we talked about this, right? Soldier and Ana and Mercy. In no particular order. Again, it depends on who's most vulnerable. So in this specific instance, right, Rein is not one of those heroes, right? Now, Mercy and Soldier are both here, so you can either, you know, if you can get on the Soldier fast, cool, but Mercy is literally right here. She's right here. Bear for sure saw her. Like, Bear, part of your job is scouting, right? Like, clearly you're setting it for the EMP. Like, oh, there's 3 of them on high ground. I'm gonna EMP, like, you know, kill Mercy. Jump on her, you know, get on the Soldier. We should be speeding. Right now we're on healing. Oh, we were on healing while we're antied. Like, we should be speeding, you know, our nanoed Rein into them. We don't go for Rein. I know this is like this big ego thing with Reins. I'm gonna say it more this map because there's more to the map. It's this big ego thing where like the Reins have to like you know, like big dick the other Rein. I would much rather you win, right, and be the Rein that like just, he's not worth your time, you know? Like, just ignore him. Who fucking cares? He's just swinging around on you, whatever. Literally, and you have speed. They can't do anything about you. You just speed in with your Lucio and you just swing on people. So, we get the kill on Rein. Like, look how long this Mercy lives because of this. Like, that hurts me. And letting a support, like letting supports live for this long is really scary. I mean, depending on the support they are, depending on like the ults they have, like if a support can live a few extra seconds, like they might be able to get that ult off, right? They might be able to get their cooldowns back and escape, and then suddenly this Mercy like reses on the side because we don't pay attention to her anyway, and now the Rhine's back. That happens later too. So yeah, spoilers, sorry.
Big spoilers, I was there.
Anyway, so, you know, we managed to win an OT. Thank fuck.
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
Alright. We see Bear lying in wait on the high ground. Also, are they? Yeah, they're down 2 people right now. Okay, yeah, so this is, we talked about this last VOD too, right? So, yeah, so, yeah, was it on this exact oh no, I think it was Eichenwald, yeah, that we went over. Yeah, I remember that. I meant when we did the team VOD. Okay, so, again, we're still practicing this. I don't remember, I think Rappy was there that day. Rappy, I think, is allergic to speeding, is from what I've been noticing. I'm sorry. You're very slow. You should, yeah. You should be with your Rhine already, right? You guys need to be like paying attention to, again, like we talked about last time. You should be paying attention to when you kill people. Again, Bear is scouting, so hopefully Bear is saying like, hey guys, I only see 3 of them here. Like, maybe we just, I don't know, go in and push them, right? You know, hopefully we're saying shit like that. You know, your Rhine is already kind of trying to push up, which I love. I wish that your Rhine was faster. Rappy finally comes in, but now Jay is walking back. Like, we waste this time. This is free for us. Your goal here after you take first is to move in with your DPS. You know, if one of them is not pushing cart, like I think you have your on cart, that's fine. Whoever you have pushing cart doesn't come. But then you have your Frog, your Rhine, your DPS, or you know whoever DPS and someone else push up, and then you guys fuck them. All right, you come up here, like you speed up. This is what should happen, and then you speed on the McCree, right? Because McCree's pretty vulnerable. He's one of those high value targets. I know that they switch off of Soldier, right? Again, I think they kind of fill a similar slot, so McCree's still someone you want to focus. McCree's even easier to focus because he is slow and cannot run away like Soldier, so that's a great pick. So I would come up, again, when you're going into second, your goal as a team is to stagger them, right? Stagger kills, especially if they're split and some of them are coming back from spawn, which is what they're doing right now, and just go and speed on them and kill them. If you need to use ults to do that, to keep up momentum, do it! I would rather you use ults to win than like wait and be like, oh, well, you know, maybe they'll eventually use Shatter and then I should, you know, I should counter that with this. Like, just go in. If you have the advantage, go in. Use your ult. You'll get it back. Regardless of whether you use ults or not, stop playing like pussies. Get in there. Like we literally they were down people, and now we waited. You guys are playing polite right now. All right, you're not playing like you want to win. You're playing like, oh, you don't have 5 people. Like, let's not fight right now. Like, let's wait till it's 5v5 and have a fair fight. Fuck that. Take your W. Get in there. Kill them. Yeah. Okay, so we beat the Shatter, right, which is huge. That helps us. We get counter Shatter on their team. This Mercy flies in, doesn't get the res. So I'm gonna back it up. Dylan thinks this one's kind of weird because the Mercy does like this weird little hop when she gets up. I think that the Mercy is half health and on the ground and I think you guys should push her, right? I know that we all see her, so I don't think the little hop she does is a good excuse for why we walk past her. Like, we kill the Ryan, right? Because he's kind of away from his healer's little... That's fine. If he's killable, kill him. We should speed on this Mercy. We just kind of, like, all push past her for some reason. She almost gets the res off. That bitch should die.
He boops her.
Yeah. Yeah, that bitch should die. Okay, now we are walking up, right, with Ryan, and we get a really good kill on Somber because of that, so that's perfect. I wish that you guys would have done that sooner into second, but I'm glad that you pushed up. Take space, right? Ramen's already on high ground, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So if you need to, like, obviously you do need to put someone on point. You know, have someone on point, right? If you want it, maybe Sojourn, right? Because she can get up to high ground easy. And then, you know, the rest of you can take high, or, you know, if your Ryan wants to take like a corner or something on low ground to kind of help point progression, that's fine. But a couple of you should take high ground if you can, right? And set up preemptively for second. But we're not going to go into that too much. Yeah, that's my big issue with a lot of you squishies. We've talked about it already. Is like you guys are just vulnerable and you're really easy to kill, even against like other Ryans. And like again, like I said earlier, especially when they don't have a frog, you should not be dying to Ryan if you're playing a long range or a mobile hero. It just shouldn't happen. Like this Ryan is really close to you guys now, which just shouldn't be the case. Like again. Notice how we're fighting Ryan, right? This whole time. We're just swinging on Ryan. I'm not sure where all of our... Here, not sure where all of our damage is going. Okay, we kind of shoot at Insane when he's there. Yeah, again, shooting at Ryan. I know it's Sojourn, right? Like, you're getting the charge off of the tank, which is totally fine. Turning back for Sombra. Just fine. Okay, yeah, we're pressuring squishies a little. Again, but for a lot of this, we're just swinging on Ryan, right? Okay, same thing here. Like, we get nano. Both Ryans get nanoed, right? This is kind of talking about, like, the Genji thing a little bit. Other than, like, sleep or speeding away from him, right? Or maybe hacking him if he comes in. Obviously, you can counterpin him, you know, if you need to, whatever. But other than, like, those couple CC things to stop him in his tracks, don't focus the naded Ryan, right? Unless he's weak and he's antied and, you know, away from his team. Don't focus him. I don't care if he's nanoed. Literally, speed, like you guys are playing so passive. You nano, speed past the Rhine. Ignore this man. He's useless. If your team's actually on high ground, you don't have this problem, right? Like, Sojourn and Ana should like not be near him, right? So if the Rhine does get nanoed, you have like your Ana on high ground and she's just like, you know, like, get up here, idiot. Yeah. So speed past the Rhine. Like you like Rhine and Frog and whoever else go past the Rhine and start speeding onto their squishies, you know? Go kill them. This Rhine's not dying. Okay, now that he's antied, right? You focus him. So we get the anti on him, he feeds. I wanna talk about the Mercy again. You know?
Bro, oh my god.
She goes
bro.
for those. The Mercies you play against go for those because you guys don't shut it down. So Mercy is like high value specifically because of res, right, and her survivability. Again, if you can catch her out, kill her. You're not always gonna be. But if she flies into your team to res, that bitch dies. First of all, as Sombra, you should be saving Hack for that, right? You can literally just, if you see someone die and you're like, oh, I really don't want him to res Ryan, right? You can literally just like sit here invis if you want and just hack her. There's nothing they can do about it. No one's gonna shoot you with this ring. Like, just fucking hack her. But other than that, like, get the anti. It's good anti on Ryan. We end up finishing because of that. And then she just falls inside of us. Like, I mean, I watched Jay at least try to kill her, although he fire strikes her instead of swinging on her. A little unfortunate because it takes a little too long. Like, I watched Ramen. I want to see Ramen's perspective. I'm sure it's really close. So again, we're not thinking about it. I think that's what happens, is we're not actively thinking like, hey, we should protect this res. That's unacceptable. You guys should be thinking about that. Like, res is so big, right? We all know what res does. We've all seen it. We've seen these dumb mercies. It's not dumb if it keeps working, though, right? Like, don't fall for this shit. But yeah, so if the Rhine dies here, I mean, I would be thinking, like, she's not going to go for that, right? But, you know, down here, a lot of mercies do. So I would say anytime there's a kill, you know, just kind of keep it in the back of your mind for, like, the next 10 seconds, right? Like, that mercy might go for that res, and we should keep an eye on her. But, like, literally, she drops in front of us, and Robin's like, nope. Now you get the kill on McCree. Yeah, you get the kill on McCree, which is, again, like, he's one of those, the characters that we're wanting to focus.
I think it was a split, like, second.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I think you had already decided to go top there, right? So, like, it just kind of happened all together.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't blame any one person necessarily, but I do think as a team, you guys, like, should be aware of that, right? This Mercy gets away with a lot of these reses for zero reason. Yeah, so if you call it out, like, the next step, right, is to, like, actually do something about it. So, you know, standing near it, again, if you have certain cooldowns, you know, that counter it, just keeping an eye on her, right? Like, you don't have to hard, like, chase her, but you should still, like, keep an eye on her. Okay, same thing here. Yeah, 2 of their team didn't make it, right? I do this, like, in between fights, if we're winning the fight and I'm like, okay, I'm taking point, I will press the little whatever button, the rectangle touchpad, and I will, like, literally watch, you know, like, the bar, you know, when they respawn, the respawn timer, I will literally watch it, and, you know, if they don't spawn before the point changes, then not all of them made it, right? Not all of them are together. Now, obviously, with I don't know if you guys know this actually, but with the new whatever update, they did like a spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've only used it like once so far, but you know, it's cool. So I think technically it's the spawn, right? Like technically they could go to their back spawn, right? But you know, if they're stupid or, you know, like whatever, they don't know, regardless, some of them are trapped in here. Oh, are they doing it? Yeah, okay, they leave. Okay. So, maybe we could have been faster there, was my point, right? Jay did a good job of trying to push that, and then I think Rabbi tried to follow a little too late. Maybe we could have killed someone before they went back, but regardless, you know, the thought was there, so it was a good effort. Okay, so they swapped to Reaper and Brig. So this again is about the time where you know, we might readjust who we're focusing on. So Ana, still a big one, right? Can still fuck us with nade and, you know, her other cooldowns. Cass, typically, you know, he does a lot of consistent damage. He's not too hard to jump on, right? Brig as well. Yes, exactly. Yep. So, Brig, right, is actually quite, obviously if you're playing dive, less vulnerable, unless you guys are coordinated, but still doable. But especially against Brawl, Brig kind of struggles. If you can get your Rhine inside of her, you know, because you have a Lucio and they don't, you just literally walk up to her and you swing on her a couple of times and she dies. So I would say those are probably the easiest to go for. And yes, as mentioned, you don't want to focus Reaper. This is kind of like we talked about with Mei a little bit. Again, you want to pay attention to Reaper, right? You don't want to like let a Reaper loose in your backline, let him fuck up your team. But he's not really super vulnerable. However, if he uses Wraith, right, like we talked about earlier with cooldowns, then he's more vulnerable, and that's kind of your chance to kill him. So if he gets low, he's used Wraith, definitely chase him then. He goes up on the priority list because he's used those important cooldowns. But right now, I would be trying to focus probably mainly Cass and Brig, because they're probably going to be closer, to the front line than the Ana. And if you can get to the Ana, like that's probably Bear's job, right? Like Bear's job right now is to, harass the Ana. If the Brig's playing with the Ana, again, you're keeping both supports busy, and just kind of seeing how that goes. And if we need to make swaps because they have the Brig, we'll make swaps. Reaper's just looking. Aw. Okay.
This ends now.
Okay. So back it up. We EMP again.
This ends now.
Yeah. So yeah. So we go for the Rhine again. We do end up getting the kill, but notice we die to the Kree, right? Kree is just kind of like existing. So if the Rhine's killable, right? Like he was kind of weak there, he's pushed up a little far, right? If you want to go for the Rhine in that moment, because he's weak, fine. I would say to do that, if you're not gonna deal with their other heroes, you might try like swinging on him like once or so, but then like your Rhine needs to just throw up shield and like move past him a little and like make sure you're blocking the Kree shots, right? Make sure you're blocking like the nade, if it comes in, or like the Ana shots, like if you're gonna go for a tank like that, you want to try, you can't forget about these. Like this McCree, again, like we said, he's a threat. He needs to be focused. If you can't get him in that moment, whatever, but you guys have to pressure him. You have to shut him down in some way. We can't ignore him. Like Bear comes in here, we completely turn our back to him and we're like, yeah, get the Rhine. And then he kills us. So we shouldn't die to that. We end up getting the Brig though, again, like we said, like we went in and pushed her, and pressured her and we got that kill. Very interesting, High Noon. This is another example, right? This Kree is horribly out of position, Kaz. Horribly out of position. And with Rafi and Ramen and Jay through a Fire Strike, we do a good job of pushing the guy that was out of position, right? And making sure we got the kill. Gave up a little space, but that's alright. I like that we got the kill on him. Okay. They switched Torb. I know that you guys, like, this is in the moment, so, like, I don't expect you to be like, oh, I just saw, the Kree went back and switched Torb. If you do notice in the middle, that's fine. But then that just means, like, Torb is not going to be the guy that you want to go on, right? Unless he uses, like, his Overload. I think that's what it's called. So, again, supports are still the ones to focus on, unless... Again, you push this Reaper. Like, Reaper right now, we watched this, we got the nade on him, he's in the center of our team, he wraithed, right, to get it off, reload, whatever, and now he's right here. This should instantly be like, Reaper use Fade, he's half health, murder him, right? This is one of those, like, suddenly jumps in priority, and then you guys should just, like, absolutely annihilate him, which we do end up getting the kill on that. Awesome job. Hopefully we're pushing. Yeah. Nice. We get the block, we get the kill on Brig, which is good. We kill both supports first. I love that. Now we can kill Rein really easily, right? This is the unfortunate moment where you guys aren't ult tracking, yeah, and don't think about the Reaper. Again, that's just like an ult tracking thing. Not all of y'all need to be on point there. Let me see who's over there. If I can yell at them. I know for a fact that Flames should not be up there. Yeah, I would say that's probably the most egregious. It makes sense that Bear's on point. Again, Ramen can kind of play, you know, wherever, but you guys should, like, you shouldn't have everyone on point here. Y'all should be taking angles, right? I mean, they have to touch point here, right? Obviously you guys have to, you know, well, you guys have to push point too, but like they have to stop the point. They're gonna have to use ults here. This is not the time to get sloppy. Don't play like idiots, you know. Yeah, that's okay. It happens. It happens. Alrighty. That is it. Any questions on anything? I know it was a lot. No?
Yell at us more.
I thought that was, you know, a good amount of yelling.
Sounded a little too intrigued by that yelling woman.
So
Okay.
yeah. So I know. With scrims, it's been about a week since I've shown up because you know I've been wanting to do this. This is really our next step. But I know that we've been mostly just kind of trying to focus on comms a little, right, and work together a little bit better as a team, which we will still do. But now, I mean, again, it's hard to say like, hey, let's call targets, right? When you know. Clearly, like, we might have different ideas of, you know, what the right target is, or we might not know, like, who good targets are, you know? So I wanted to fill in those blanks for you guys, you know, try to start making it a little bit easier to call targets because you guys have a better idea of which ones are the right ones in whatever situation. So, upcoming scrims for at least a couple of weeks, I'm sure, we'll be working on this. Slowly but surely, you know, we can also break it into parts, you know, like work on like the scouting and the information getting and kind of, you know, trying to figure out, you know, like what works well against what, and then, you know, applying it, of course, as time goes on. So that's what we'll be working on. Again, I wrote it down and sent it to you guys in the notes, Coach Notes channel, so you have it to look back on over the course of however long, whenever you need it. So, you know, you can read it for yourselves. But that is basically it. I hope that helped shine a light a little bit on just what target calling is and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was trying to kind of like.
Don't tunnel vision on the Rein.
Yeah. Yes, don't focus Rein unless, again, he is killable. Like, again, you get the nade, he's, like, super vulnerable, whatever. But, like, you know, still break shield, still pressure him, right? But if you have better people to shoot those people, right? If you know, you have a Reinhardt and his team's behind his shield, but then you have, like, again, like that McCree who's, like, several steps, you know, to the right of his shield, out in the open, like, shoot the McCree, right? But yeah, so it just kind of depends, but we'll figure it out. And yes, obviously we're, you know, part of what we've been working on with a couple of these VODs is repositioning, right, rotations and chasing staggers, especially on second. That's so important for payload maps. But we'll keep working on that as time goes on and adjust that. But I really wanted to mostly focus on target priority for this next while. I don't know who didn't show up today because I don't know the team that well.